Common Sense is a deep analysis to global and socio-economical issues from the point of view of real people in real time. From the Sunshine State, this is Common Sense with Lexx Marshall and JT.
Welcome to one more episode of Common Sense. This is your host, Lexx Marshall. And how you doing, Mr. Cooper?
Doing well. How are you?
All right. So where is JT at?
He's at work right now.
He's working?
Yeah, so he's not going to be able to be here. But we have a guest.
All right, we have a guest today, and she's a real woman. She's not a fake woman. She's a real woman. She's works on the hospitality field. She's Mrs. We're going to go by Mrs. G. All right. And we're going to have a little bit of everything, Mrs. G. I don't know if you feel comfortable. And where are you from, actually?
I was born in California. And when I was about 12, we moved to Sarasota, Florida. So I pretty much say that I'm from Sarasota. I mean, I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Might as well die here as too.
just for a little background.
I love Sarasota. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Oh, cool. And you work in the hospitality field. You work like in a restaurant or something, or
I do. I do.
And Mr. Cooper, you work hospitality field too. So we have like two people that actually work on the hospitality field.
Quite a coincidence.
Yeah. What the hell?
Would you look at that?
And of course, we're gonna go into a little bit of craziness here.
Here we go.
Mrs. G, what is your political view? What is your political likeness? Are you considered Democratic? Considered Republican? What are you?
I'm a registered Republican.
Oh my God!
I don't like big government. You know, I don't like the government involved with everything in my business. I like lower taxes. Things I would like sway on would be definitely pro-choice, you know, and I believe in gay rights, and I believe in guns.
All right, Mrs. G, that is very good. That is very good of you. What do you think about this present administration?
Oh, I love Trump. I voted for him, for sure. I did. I'll vote for him again, too. I think he handled everything. Very well. I mean, hindsight is 20/20 on things that could have been done and prevented it and so on and so forth. But in the long shot, it's like until you're in that position, you don't really know what you would do.
We were having on the last episodes of this podcast something that is called the common sense, some basic questions, and we have been asking ourselves if this administration could have dealt with this coronavirus pandemic a different way. And we have come to the conclusion that maybe we could have done better because the administration on the early stages of this pandemic kind of didn't do anything. We were just hoping for the virus to go away miraculously. President Trump said it before, you know, he hoped that the viruses will go away miraculously, and of course it didn't. It actually got worse. And I'm just thinking, from my point of view, like, yeah, we could have done it better. He could have done a better job, but that is just my point of view, of course.
Right.
But what do you think? Like, he could have done it better or not? Or it is what it is?
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. That's, I mean, like that, like I said, it's like hindsight is 2020, and everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion's different, and until you're really in that position where you're faced with all of these problems firsthand, you really don't know what you would do. What would you do? And would that be good for everyone? You have a lot of people, a lot of people's lives in your hand, and you're faced with the hardest decision. I mean, I think he did a great job. I think shutting down was good. I think DeSantis did a great job as well. I'll definitely be voting for him again. I think things have been running really smoothly.
Mr. Cooper, remember, like we were talking about having Trump listen to the experts. Do you feel like Trump didn't actually listen to the experts? He did or he didn't?
No, he's been pretty. Yeah, he hasn't been really paying attention to the experts. There's been a lot of experts that have criticized what he's done. Yeah, there's a whistleblower on television right now talking about how he was kicked out because he was questioning hydroxychloroquine, which has not been proven scientifically to help. There's been some anecdotal things, but whenever they take it into a lab, it hasn't been consistent, and it's kind of been dangerous. So, yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of the experts are not really on Trump's side.
Mrs. G,
I'd say that.
Yeah, Mrs. G, I want to ask you something about what do you think about when Mr. Trump says that he thinks that injecting disinfectant to their bodies, is a good idea? What do you think about that? And that's something that it gets me, like from like, especially from like people that like Trump. I mean, I don't like Trump. I don't dislike Trump. For me, I'm kind of the neutral spot right here. But when he says something like that, that kind of like makes me mad. What do you think about that?
I honestly, like, I try my best to stay away from the news and everything. And so, in my opinion, the way I look at things is like I would have to see the entire thing. I would have to see this entire, what is it? What did he say he wanted to do?
He recommended, he recommended
on Facebook, with the people injecting the disinfectant. It's like you got to be kidding me.
Right. He kind of recommend.
I don't know what that's about. Like, what is that about?
His logic is well, it disinfectant kills the germs and kills the coronaviruses on the surfaces. Then why don't we inject disinfectant into our body? Is there a way? Is there any way to, inject?
You should pull up that clip. You should pull up that clip, play the audio.
I gotta see this.
Yeah, pull it up.
I work so much. It's not that I'm uneducated about it, or any much.
No, yeah. This common sense.
So much that, like, my me time, the time that I get to spend down, like, watching TV, it's like I'm gonna watch something, stupid.
What have you been watching?
Has to be, Futurama.
Futurama's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Supposing
like that's
we hit
like
the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either.
Brought the light inside the body?
In some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant.
There you go.
Knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, his logic is like if disinfectant works on killing the viruses on the surfaces, why don't we inject disinfectant in our bodies and so kill the virus. That is his logic. And I see, you know what? And I see that is his logic in some way, maybe in the doctor or in the science field, it can be accomplished. But you don't recommend injecting disinfectant into their bodies because people out there will actually do it.
It's like a private conversation you should be having with them. You shouldn't just be spitballing in like a press conference, like, oh, maybe this, maybe that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, does anybody really know? I mean, honestly. I mean, if you are stupid enough to inject disinfectant into yourself,
well,
you deserve
Mrs.
Well,
G,
maybe you shouldn't be president if you're stupid.
Mrs. G,
I mean,
there is people out there that will actually do it and done it.
He's a businessman. You know, I mean, what do you expect the president to be? Like the mega super brain genius? He's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we voted for him. I guess the
I didn't.
of the United States just wants a real person in office and not some stupid fucking politician. He's English, but you know.
Well says Mrs. G. Well say.
Yeah, like what do you want? Like, you know, I envision the cartoon with the Martian with the huge brain, and then we will have and we will inject with the poison. You know, I mean, like, come on.
One thing I know.
The man is a businessman, and I think he's done great things. You know, yes, you know, I mean, like, he made sure that we could all have our bills paid and like still be able to stay home. Or like, what's the problem? Who's got an issue?
And that wasn't necessarily him.
Well, you know, I mean, it was under
his whole team of people.
It's under his lead. It's under his lead.
I think he just didn't block it. It's the main thing. I don't think he was like, hey, we should do this. I think it was like Congress and then.
I don't see how anyone can be mad. You're getting paid to stay home. And, you know, I mean, like, you want to know what it's like to live in Florida during hurricane season? It's just like this, except with no power and no water. That's what it's like living through a hurricane. Now the rest of the United States is like finally figuring it out. And they're like, oh my God, this is terrible. Oh, there's a bunny outside.
All right, Mrs. G. We all know here in this podcast, and we, like I say, we try to just have a common sense. Nobody is an expert on politics. Nobody is an expert on science. But we we just go by the common sense of people, what we should do and what you shouldn't do. And do you think we all know like politicians lie, and they lie a lot. And do you think Trump lies?
Oh, of course. Who doesn't lie?
But like to the extreme, like, because I think like sometimes he goes to the extreme. Like everything he says is kind of like he doesn't lie, like lie, but he kind of like goes 50-50, you know. And it's very uncommon for a politician to do that, you know. I would say like politicians don't usually lie straight up, but they don't do the things that they say they will do, but they just don't lie in your face. Trump kind of does.
Well, I mean, he's willing enough to spitball in front of the entire nation. I mean, like, how more honest do you want to get? I mean,
so
like,
well, okay.
I mean, which president have you been happy with that you think that that didn't lie? And did a great job and did more things than anybody. You know, I mean,
the president. If you ask me,
I was pretty happy with Obama.
Yeah, I will say like Obama didn't do what he said he was gonna do, but he didn't lie straight up. He said he was gonna do, but he didn't do it. But hey, you know, it's a politician. But when Trump says like stuff like you wouldn't imagine, or the pandemic is, or this virus is a hoax, in that is lying, like straight up, you know, like yeah, he said like the virus is a new hoax from the Democratic Party. For me, it's like my son or my kid telling me I didn't eat the cake when he's got cake all over the face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? but
That's
it's
like
just kind
Obama
of very
saying,
uncommon.
it's like Obama saying, he was going to do something and then he didn't do it.
What did they say they was going to do? They didn't do.
I don't know. like I said, I don't do politics. I honestly don't. I mean, I used to be very into politics when I was younger. I worked on the McCain campaign when I was younger, and I got paid actually to make sure all the Republicans voted. And after that whole experience, and seeing a glimpse of the inside workings of it, and seeing the people, it was I just got completely turned off by the entire thing. Plus, my candidate didn't win. It was like, I did all that work and I'm good.
I like McCain.
Yeah, I like McCain.
I like McCain.
Yeah. Do you support his language, Mrs. G?
What?
Yeah, Trump's language.
Yeah, I love it.
You love it? Like when he
I
said that, like when he uses derogatory terms and offensive, like for some minorities, like
Oh,
when
sorry,
he's
but I work in the hospitality industry, and I've heard some pretty disgusting things. So I'm pretty,
Tolerance is high.
sensitized from derogatory remarks. A lot of I'm married, so it's like I mean. Men are men, and if you don't understand men, then
Well, when he said like shithole countries and Mexicans are rapists and stuff like that.
Did he ever really say that? Because I don't ever recall him saying stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, he did say it.
did he?
Yeah.
You can pull it up if you want.
Like I said, I live pretty, I live on the inside.
Now, on immigration, in the poll, that was an area of weakness for you. You have been widely criticized, Donald, as you know, for offending immigrants in your announcement speech. I want to just play again exactly what you said in that speech. Here you are.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us.
Well, that's true in Guatemala.
Drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Now, you tried to clarify this statement in recent days, Donald, but I guess
So you believe that people that come from the South American countries are bad people? Guatemala
are pretty hard. I don't know if you there are. I don't know. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time in Mexico. My grandmother had a timeshare, and every summer we would go out there for the entire summer in Mexico, in Mazatlan. So, I mean, I don't agree with that at all. I don't like racism. I really don't. Especially because I tend to look very ethnic, and I have been mistaken for every race except for my own. so it's like, for me, it's like I've had to, I've been desensitized, and I don't really, I don't care for racism at all, but at the same time, I'm so desensitized from it that I feel that I personally could say things, but other people can't.
Well, I think like all these people that comes from the South American countries. I mean, name Mexicans, Guatemalans, whatever.
There are certain parts of Central America
there is a very small portion of people that they do have lots of problems, and they belong to a gangs. They gang related. I give you that one. It's okay.
My tia, actually, she used to bring people up from Tijuana, and
but you can't encapsulate all these people into one just one kind of people.
No.
And that is the narrative he uses. He kind of like said that all these people, like all of them, are bad for the country. They come and they do drugs and stuff, like, which we don't. South American people, they come
South
here
American
to
people are
look
different from Central
for
American people.
to look for a better way of life, because in their home country
Yeah.
they can make a living.
Mhm.
The way he worded it was bad, and unfortunately, like, there is people that listen to that narrative and take action, like they go to the streets and like the white supremacist people do, because they.
Yeah, idiots.
So that is the problem with Trump's
Like
narrative.
that. I mean, I just can't believe that type of ignorance still exists in the United States. Like, it's just incredible. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me that how anyone can, I don't know.
What it
Not only does it exist, it's running the country.
Well, I mean, I don't really want to touch on this subject much more, simply because, I've got a very complicated background,
So it really touches your inside emotions.
yeah, I don't like talking about racism. I prefer to live like it doesn't exist.
Have you ever been bullied before,
Yes.
Mrs. G? So that's
Oh yeah, like horrible, like
Wow.
I know, yeah, it's terrible. Like, I mean, kids would say, little kids, in the playground, we're talking like, first grade, kindergarten, having racial slurs being said to me by them and crying in the bathrooms, like just really, really terrible stuff.
yeah. Well, like, don't you think, like, for people like South American people, they feel like just like you when they listen to
South
Trump
American
talking like
people are
that?
completely different from Central American people, and that's why people keep getting them.
No,
My
but my
father's from
question is,
Argentina.
yeah, but my question is, like,
So,
people from, okay, people that are here illegally, don't you think they feel the same way that you did when you were bullied, when they listen to Trump saying this kind of stuff?
I'm sure, and that's what I'm ashamed for. That's a shameful part, because I do support this president, and that's the most shameful part about him as the president is that, and I just try and block that out.
But
Because, you pick and choose your battles, and racism is something that I've been dealing with my entire life. And it's like, you know what? I feel like everybody is somewhat racist.
and
Not
they
me, I'm perfect.
and of
Oh,
course,
yeah,
Mr.
whatever.
Cooper
All right.
is
What's your name again?
Mr. Cooper is really racist. He likes, like, black people and white people.
That's it. Those are the only two that I
He
like.
hates Asians. No,
Oh, man.
okay, I'm gonna ask you. Okay, we want to step out of the racist thing here, and
Yeah.
but you're working on the hospitality industry. Did you take your quarantine time? Did you
Oh,
work all
I'm
this time straight, or
I'm sorry. Did you just say, did I enjoy my
no?
quarantine
Did
time?
you take your quarantine time?
I did take quarantine time. I did.
Okay, so
When
you step off of
when the
work
first-
and say, like, oh, okay, fuck it, I'm leaving.
No, not
Okay.
like that at all. When it first broke out, I was really, really nervous. Like, I actually, it scared me. Because I get sick so easily, and I had just gotten done being sick, and it's like, so I knew my immune system was already weak. And what did it for me is I had this table come in, and we were already slow, and it's like I think about this table every single day. Like, it hurts my heart. But they sat down for dinner, and I'm talking to them and just trying to get to know them. And it's two elderly people, that are in this risk bracket. And then, a middle-aged, their son, and then, like, it looked like, his two daughters. and the people were bragging. The grandparents were bragging about how they just came down from New Jersey, and at that time, New Jersey was like the epicenter of everything, and it freaked me out. It freaked me out so bad. Like I lost character.
Um, some of us we did take like quarantine time, but not because we just didn't want to work, and
Yeah, it's not that I didn't want to work. It just freaked me out,
and
It was like, let me figure out what's going on and figure out how to protect myself before I get back into anything that I can, because I get sick constantly. It's just terrible how sick I get.
and
Yeah,
we,
there was a moment right before quarantine where you weren't really sure how much it had spread because it was so new and because it didn't show symptoms. So you're just like, oh God, we could all be infected already. I was terrified that we were already infected. But now that we've had some time to back up, we kind of realize it hasn't spread that quickly in this area yet.
Right. But now we have ways to protect ourselves and precautions to take. I mean, when it first broke out, it was like I had no protection, nothing. These people just told me that they came down from New Jersey, and New Jersey just announced that they had like hundreds and thousands of people, and it was like, oh my God, like it was almost like they refugeed here, and it was like, but are you infected? And I have no way to protect myself. I don't want to serve you. I need to figure out how to keep myself safe before I can devote myself to anything else. Because if I'm not safe, then I can't. I'm no good.
There is a lot of conspiracy theories about this virus. Some people said, and some investigators said that this virus was man-made in the Wuhan lab. Some others say this is just how viruses mutate naturally. We know now very little this virus is still, and yet we need to find more and more about how this virus acts and how this virus is developing. But don't you think like sometimes like the news are just making it big? Is it that big of the deal, or is just the news are just like just constantly?
I think we have so much access to information right now. I mean, we have an endless fountain of just ways to communicate and to connect, and like this is what happens when too many people are easily connected. I mean, it's like the world's biggest telephone. You remember that game you used to play, Telephone, when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the information changes as it...
The internet is just an information chain, and it keeps getting changed and changed and changed and changed and changed, and it's like pretty soon it's like, that's why I don't watch the news. Like, I pay attention when need be necessary, but at the end of the day, like, I don't want anything to do with it.
At one point, like every news station was just saying about virus and the virus and the virus, and it seemed like all the other diseases like took vacations, and it was just like.
I don't think they took vacations. I think that they
but
were
nobody,
just
nobody talk about them. Like, let's say, like before this virus, everybody was talking about opioids. The opioid crisis and the opioids and the opioids.
They're not done talking about it either, because it is a crisis.
It is a crisis, but nobody talks about it. I mean, nobody talks about the same way that
coronavirus.
Right, and the death.
We shifted our attention.
Yeah, but the death rate on the coronavirus is very little. It's like 2%. And we have other diseases that the death rate is way bigger than the coronavirus.
Yeah, but it hasn't infected as many people.
I know.
It's not as contagious. When you take 2% and you scale it up to millions of people, then...
I mean, you get lung disease and stuff like that, It's just a matter of time,
Yeah, not only death isn't the only issue. You could just be very, very ill and have permanent organ damage.
But, okay, I give you that one. I know that coronavirus is very infectious, but still, I feel like the news are just talking way too much.
Yeah.
Because it's a serious issue.
It is a serious issue. So politics, so
in 2
economics.
months, we've had more American deaths than the entire Vietnam War. So think about how much they were talking about the Vietnam War when that was going on, and it's compounded in 2 months. We're now past that. Like 20,000 more than the Vietnam War, which was like around 60. Now we're like pushing 90.
I
Did you
just
see that article about Woodstock and that
Yeah.
virus? Yeah.
I just
mean,
kind of
like-
need like a break of the coronavirus. It's just it's getting old.
Well, that's what Netflix is for. I mean, there's other news articles that you can read.
You notice Netflix isn't the only one that's offering retributions or whatever for their services.
What do
No,
you mean?
It's okay if you're late with your bill. Netflix has not announced any of that. They're taking their money because they know you're home.
oh, okay. I know the
Have you noticed that? Anybody notice that? No.
I know the Pornhub was giving you free subscriptions.
Well, they've always had free subscription. Well, I mean,
Oh, Pornhub?
it's only the premium that you pay for. Okay.
Yeah. Now that you know anything, Alex, get with the times.
Like, hello.
No, because somebody said it.
Oh, I don't know. I just heard from somebody. I don't.
No, it actually came on the news and that the Pornhub was giving free subscriptions for quarantine time. So I don't know if it was here on the US or somewhere else. I
Yeah,
don't-
whatever. It's always been free.
Yeah, you tell me, Cooper. You're the one that watches that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I have a healthy life. I have a healthy relationship with my husband.
Oh my God.
What? You said I was a real woman. Like, hello.
Yeah.
Have you ever
So-
I'm gonna shame everybody over here.
So, Mrs. G, now, for real, did you have you ever watched porn, or you do that on regular basis or not? Not really.
No, it's not a regular basis.
okay.
I mean, like I said, I have a healthy relationship with my husband.
But
Yeah.
it's not the same way that we watch porn. Like men watch porn on.
Do I watch porn by myself? Are you trying to ask me that?
Sure.
Yes. When I was younger, yes.
Okay. And men, we watch porn like not on a regular basis, but pretty often. We go there and take a pic.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know if that's a woman thing or no.
If you don't know that about men, you are going to be alone forever, honey.
It's pretty common with women too, though. It's more common than a lot of people think.
Yeah, a lot of women
Well,
have.
I don't know. I'm not a woman.
What'd you say? You wouldn't know you're not a woman?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. I mean, how do I know that?
You could be one if you wanted to.
No, I pass.
That is true, Mr. Cooper.
We won't judge you if you decide to.
That is
I
okay.
mean, I really won't. I would understand,
It feels like for over the time, porn was like the main thing. We used to have back in the day. We used to have snack magazines from our older friends, and
you guys used to. I mean,
videotapes.
I grew up with all boys,
Mhm.
so like I said, I'm pretty desensitized again. In that aspect, because I grew up with all boys. I'm the only girl in my family on both sides of the family. In my neighborhood, I grew up with all boys. You guys steal them from your parents, you steal them from your dad or your grandfather or whatever, and you guys all go into a little tree house and look at the nudie mags. I mean, that's what boys do. That's what men do.
And nowadays, it seems like that kind of stuff is available for pretty much for free. And back in the day, you were like into magazines and VH tapes and find a time to watch those tapes. It was kind of like,
It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it was kind of like, kind of watching your
wouldn't
dad
know
and mom
because
to go out
when I-
somewhere.
I wouldn't know because I'm not a guy.
And now it's just an app, and you go, turn your phone on, and it's right there. You have to.
Internet was created for. To share
Yeah, pornography has pushed a lot of different technologies. That's how everyone got VHS players in their homes.
Well,
It
because they want
also
to watch porn.
pushed photography. A lot of people were buying
Okay,
black and white prints.
Okay, okay. Hold on, let me. Okay,
Internet commerce,
Mhm.
being able to purchase
All right,
things
let's
online.
this
That
conversation.
technology was
so
kind of
pornography
developed.
has pushed technology over the time,
Yeah.
and that's why people start buying VHS or tape recorders
Yeah,
because they
that's
want.
how people started. That's why people started having VHS players, so they didn't have to. Because they used to
I
go
never
to porn
thought
theaters.
about that.
There were porn
Yeah,
theaters, but then
yeah.
people didn't want to do that.
I actually live by where Pee Wee Herman got caught. Yeah,
is
they
that?
built
It's in
that.
California, right?
No, it's in Sarasota,
What?
right on 41. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman's from Sarasota, and the movie theater was right here on. It was right there on 41, over by the South Bridge on Siesta.
How long ago was that?
Huh? That was like the 1970s or something.
Oh, so it's been a
No.
while.
Did you know that vinyl records? Okay, did you know that 12-inch vinyl records weren't pressed until 1978? Before 1978, they were all 45s, and
Okay.
you couldn't buy a 12-inch record. You couldn't buy just a single. When you bought a record in the 1970s, 1978, or 1977, around there, it would be a full-length album. They didn't come out with hit singles until like about the 80s. Some interesting stuff.
That happened in 1991. Pee Wee's arrest.
There we go. There it is.
And where?
91. So there were still movie theaters in 91. Do you believe that? It wasn't that long ago.
Nah, 20 years. 30
God,
years.
don't say that.
That was a 30 years?
30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
Shut
Wow, my
up.
math is powerful.
Oh my God. You are kidding.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Mr. Cooper, go home.
Sarasota, Florida.
Uh-huh.
She's right.
You think I'm a liar? Yeah, I told you.
It's hard to believe, though. I never knew that. Huh.
So okay, so back on the technology, like pornography has pushed video cameras, VCRs, and what else, Mr. Cooper?
Photography.
What they had to do
Black
with
and white
photography?
prints.
Huh?
I'm talking old photography.
Oh, okay. But why do you think like pornography pushed that technology?
Because
Like-
people wanted to purchase photographs of nude
Oh, okay.
women.
It's not like they were taking pictures of themselves naked or making porn.
Well, I think the first camera that people could
I'm
that was
sure
readily
there are
available
people
for
out there.
like the first camera that like people could use, consumers, was like a Kodak Brownie, I think.
The
It
brownie.
was like a little Brownie. It was like a little brown box. I think it was Kodak. And then you would mail it to Kodak, Eastman Kodak Brownie is like a little box, and you could just push a button and it would take photographs, and then you would mail it to the Kodak factory and they would develop it and then send the camera back with new film loaded in the camera and prints. And so that's sort of like the disposable cameras that Kodak would later produce. But
my
that was
I just
released in 1900. But before that, you had professional photographers in studios photographing naked women, and then they'd sell prints.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a new.
Then if you
That's
yeah, and
I
then-
learned something. Someone said that you learn something every day, something new. Like I say, like I know pornography is huge, but it's not like I haven't done it or whatever, and I just think like it's not.
you watch porn, dude.
I don't,
You've got some moralist narrative that you're rearing to push on us.
But it's like,
Well,
no,
you
it's
know,
just like, I
I've
think
done
like
it,
pornography
but,
for,
you know,
I
you
guess for
guys
me
are
it's all,
perverts.
you know.
I'm a normal person.
I know, right? Like, oh God.
I've done it, but I don't do it as much as you guys.
You know, like, I remember.
You know, he doesn't even know. You know that Pornhub has been free.
I watched that on the
knows, he's just
news and
pretending.
the actual
He's
news, you know. I watched it on CNN. Okay.
It's not Corona. I
He
swear.
was going for an intellectual pursuit, and he just happened.
No.
Just happened upon the
Okay.
knowledge.
Okay. Who's got news on your iPhone?
What do you mean?
Yeah, you have
hold
that.
on.
You have that little thing on with the
Apple News.
Apple News.
Yeah.
I it came out on that
Okay, I believe you.
and I watch porn. I watch Pornhub before. We just I don't do that on a regular basis though. You know, I'm not gonna lie.
Watch porn on your phone and it'll fuck it up.
No, yeah, I don't do that on the phone. I do that on the in something somewhere else. I
Safe
hire.
as long as you.
I hire
There's your
away.
secret spot, man.
Yeah, I got my.
That is an interesting thing. Like, as long as you don't click the links, it's fine. But like, the way it's interesting because Pornhub is such a like widely known, you know, accepted website, but then their advertisements are still like trying to con you and like
yeah,
they're
that's
they're the
exactly
old
why
school
you don't do it
bad
on your phone.
advertisements.
Because
Yeah.
people
It's like, oh, they'll try to trick you into some links so they can install a virus into your computer. It's like, that still hasn't changed.
Yeah.
No, what happened is like when you what happened is when you go and let's say in your phone and try to watch or go into those websites, then for some reason later on they keep like loading those websites though, and sometimes you know you are in a work and flip your phone and then the last page you saw was the porn and you
Well, yeah, you gotta
it
close
kind of
your
makes you look
tabs.
bad. So
Can't
that's
for-
what I
you
don't use
can't
my
forget
phone.
to close the tabs.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You want to show
have
like
that.
okay, I'm gonna show my boss, you
Oh,
know
you need to
this.
learn how to lock your phone.
Yeah, like
Well, no, he opens it up to show something.
yeah, like I want to show my boss a
So
picture
last
and then
page.
flip my phone out, and then the first thing is like for like a porn website, you know.
Yeah.
And my boss will think like this guy's a freak.
Yeah, it's key to remember.
Oh, like people,
Close those.
you know, people use their phones to take nudes for themselves,
yeah.
you know, and I'm
Or
gonna show you a
someone
picture.
Someone
And,
you're dating.
That
yeah,
accidentally happened to me before. Like I was going through my camera roll and you know
Yeah.
one of my pictures had popped up and it's like, you know what? It is what it is at this point in my life, you know, like those pictures are for my husband when he's having a bad day at work.
because like that happens not to me. I know people that happens like I'm gonna show you a picture and then they they go through the camera roll and there's like nude picture of them, they whoops.
Yeah,
That's kind of
it
like
happens. I mean, like, what are you gonna do? You know, I mean, like, it's just a human body. You know.
yeah, I know, but all my devices, the thing is like all my devices are connected because I use the Apple environment.
You get the cloud.
Yeah, and they go in the cloud, and I have kids, and I don't want them to.
That's why he has.
And unfortunately, all my kids use my Apple ID to buy stuff. Okay, so by they have an Apple ID, my Apple ID, then they can
You
go.
need to create your own private account, man.
Yeah, I know.
Have your own privacy.
Yeah, whatever. I don't really care. And so they allowed to go into my photos and stuff. And well, luckily I haven't get caught yet doing something. I try not to get caught.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. Like my wife uses my Apple ID. My son uses my Apple ID. So that's why I just can't take nude pictures or anything and put them on my phone because then they can see it. And that's the
like
same.
I said, you have your own account.
Yeah, I should do that.
Connected to them.
Yeah, but then
there's
if I
nothing wrong
look,
with that.
and probably you're more familiar, Mrs. G. Like if I do my own account and then like my wife would say like, well, I can't open your phone anymore. What's going on? Because
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe just get your son's
Okay,
his
here's
own
the
account.
stipulation
Get your
about-
son his own account.
I was just about to say, well, here's
Yeah.
the stipulation about that. If my husband came to me, and if the situation were in reverse and I were in your situation,
Uh-huh.
and my husband came to me and said, babe, I need to have my own account with my own privacy. I'm not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. It's like, and explain to me everything. I would be okay with it.
because you understand. But
But he
let's
has
say,
to have their
but the
privacy.
thing is, like, we've been married for 20 years, and she always have access to my stuff. And all of a sudden, she, I'll
Then
lock
all
her
of a
up,
sudden, yeah, I would be pissed. I would, well, yeah.
right?
You just explain that you want to start collecting pornography and you don't want her to know what you have.
Well, I should say,
Simple
like,
as
listen,
that.
honey,
You know
I
what?
It's reasonable.
You
right?
have access to it, and if she wants to watch it with you sometime, she's more than happy to.
No, just give your son his own, and then you don't have to worry about that, and then you can still have it with your wife.
how about I just how about just not taking pictures of myself new? How's that?
All right, fine.
Well,
Fine.
don't take any.
If you want to be a prude, I guess.
The
My-
only reason I take nude pictures of myself is because I send them to my husband when he's having a bad day. When he's having a rough day, and there's nothing that I can do. I feel helpless. There's nothing I can do to cheer him up. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, so you take pictures of
having
you.
a rough day.
So you
it's
take
like,
pictures
know
of
what,
you.
babe, Here you go.
Mr. Marshall,
Mm.
you never send photos, Mr. Marshall.
News? No, never, ever.
Do you ever get them?
No.
Oh, that's so sad.
No, because when I was dating, the phones were not that great. Okay.
Yeah.
And now that I'm
It could be a
married,
new school thing. It could be a new school thing. You know what I mean?
So-
Nobody's hating on you. It's
so-
okay, Grandpa.
Mrs. G, so like, so you send pictures of your rack to your husband? Is that what you're telling me?
What?
Yeah.
You sell pictures of your rack to your husband to cheer him up? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's pretty common.
He's having a bad day. Like, he's just having a rough day, and he can't, there's nothing I can do to cheer him up. It's like he's just having a rough day. It's like, you know what? Here you go. You deserve some nude pictures.
you guys
know,
making me feel like
yeah.
I live in the 18th century.
Gotta get with the times, man.
Grandpa, what are you, new?
Female sexual liberation, Grandpa.
No, I mean, I know people that do that, but I never receive any nude pictures from people that I was dating or anything.
Well, how long have you been married?
20 years. It's been 20 years. How, okay, tell me like the conditions of our cell phones back in 20 years.
I think the iPhone was released in 2001, if I'm right.
No,
Oh, God,
no
don't even
way.
start-
No?
No
Later
way.
than that?
I think the
2007.
the first iPhone that actually like you were able to send nice pictures on, I think was in
No, the
2010.
first one was good.
No, like
No.
the first one was like horrible.
Really?
Dude, the
Yeah.
first one was horrible, and it had horrible casing.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, it didn't fit in your hand nicely.
Mhm.
Like, I hated that big bubble on the back that it
Yeah.
had. It was just big and clanky and terrible.
And the camera wasn't
the
that great.
iPhones didn't become cool until like the 4 series.
Yeah, the 4
Yeah,
series
that
was,
was the first one I had.
yeah, the 4
Yeah.
series was good.
Well, I mean, I've had them all, but but the 4 and the 5 were my favorite.
Yeah, like
I had the 5C. I love the 5C.
I
Yeah.
love the
Classic.
5SE.
the iPhone 4 was the good one, like when actually the connectivity was good because it ran on, I think, on 3G or something like that. But that was like 2010 though. That's only been like
Yeah,
10 years ago.
2010.
So I'm talking about my relationship is like 20 plus years.
I was
And
working with Nokia.
I still have my Nokia actually.
It's a pager, man.
Yeah, I still have one somewhere.
What was it? It was 149 or whatever for "I love you."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what Grandpa's working with over here.
Yeah, I still have my Nokia.
Back then, that was the risky business in technology.
Yeah.
With the Nokia?
Or you do the boobs, the 400 or however you'd write boobs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you-
like in a calculator.
Yeah, you could like spell things with numbers.
That was Grandpa's version of sexting.
Yeah.
Back in the day. My God, we've come so far.
Yeah, I never thought about it was like a normal thing though, actually, I never thought it was, sending pictures of nudes, to your boyfriend, husband was like a real thing.
It's become a normal thing.
Well, I mean, like I said, we have a very good, my husband and I, we were friends before we ever got together. We were friends for over 10 years. So we are very comfortable with each other, and we are very, we just know each other so well, and I just know how to cheer him up. I mean, wouldn't that cheer you up? I mean, like, come on.
Not at this point.
Come on.
At this point, it was like I would say like I think she's losing it, right? I think
Call her a pervert.
I think like if you tell me right now, like I'm like, what the heck is she doing? I think she's losing it.
Yeah,
You have her committed.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be my first rodeo, It'd just be your first time, no?
It would have been my first, yeah. Okay. Last question for you, Mrs. G. We appreciate that you actually came into this program and share a little bit of your life, share a little bit of your things that you like and your political views. This is a podcast that is for real people, and of course you are a real people, and that's how I started this podcast, that you are a real woman, and by that I meant that you are actually a real people, a real worker, people that exist in this environment that thinks and feels.
I am human.
And you're a human, exactly.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm gonna give you a round of applause.
Yeah, great guest.
Yeah, great guest, and thank you for telling me things that I didn't know.
Yeah, being candid, it's good.
Things I didn't know that people send you pictures of
Try it
themselves.
with your wife, man. You just got to try it with your wife. Trust me.
No, I think for now, like I say, like nowadays, I think she will think like I'm a perv.
Oh, whatever. She
Like-
can get
Say,
over.
hey, everybody's doing it.
Well, it is kind of creepy when you get the first picture, so you should let her in on the secret.
Oh, we're gonna send her a picture of my junk.
Yeah, no, don't do that. It'll creep her out. She'll be like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?" Alex,
Work out a little bit first.
Like, no, I don't think it's gonna happen. Let me think about it. No. Let me think about it. No.
all right.
All right, thank you, Mrs. G. Thanks for coming. For coming into online thing. Like we're doing online podcast now because of the quarantine, stay-at-home orders, and pretty soon we're gonna be back on the studio, with Jordan Cooper and JT. And you feel welcome. You wanna drop by one day to my studio? Bring your husband. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the online thing that we're doing. It's not the greatest, but we came across to new technology and we're doing it now. And I think this program that we're using now sounds good. You sound really good, and Mr. Cooper sound really good. But of course, nothing beats the real thing.
Right.
A lot of people say that, nothing beats the real thing.
It sounds very clear on my end, but nothing beats, human interactions.
All right, final thoughts, Mr. Cooper.
I don't know. I think doing it online's fine.
Well,
I prefer it. I don't have to wake up as early.
yeah, well, this stupid virus is keeping us from doing it on the studio. And I don't know for how long it's going to be. It seems like it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. I don't know if I'm going to be coming into the studio anytime soon.
I don't think that we're ever going to really go back to normal.
No,
From what
absolutely not.
experienced and from the people I've spoken to and people that I just interact with at work and on a daily basis, my best friend, because she just had a baby, is very nervous about having me over the house simply because I'm exposed to the outside public, and
Yeah.
she's just so
And people that have babies and elderly, like family members that are an advanced age, feel the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
feel the
scary.
same
It's
way.
scary time.
And we work in the out there with people, and hey, who knows, So to prevent something chaotic, we just don't go to see our families.
Yeah.
And I've seen like people doing it, like yeah, I seen people doing like, hey, they stay by the door, and then just they open the window and just wave, people through the windows.
Yeah.
And that's
I
pretty
still
sad.
haven't seen my mother for Mother's Day. So.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Mrs. G, and you've been great. And we'll hope to have you back anytime soon, either in studio or online. And it seems like online is the new normal. And
Yeah.
I would be more than happy to, and I know my husband would be happy to.
Awesome. Dude.
And this has been Common Sense podcast. Thank you for listening to us. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. And we are now on iTunes, and we are on Spotify. And we are expanding to all over the world. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast, Common Sense.